everyone, and welcome to my living nightmare, also known as outlining. My name is Katelin Urgo, and I am a 23-year-old writer, and I am participating in NaNoWriMo this year for the 6th time. National Novel Writing Month happens every November, where writers, or anyone really, are challenged to write an entire book in 1 month. I am a 5-time participant and a 0-time winner, which is super sad and tragic, and I am very ashamed of myself. But this year is my year because I am putting in the work before November 1st hits, so that way hopefully the month of November will be an absolute breeze and I just get to write and hope for the best. This is the second video in my NaNo Preptober series. The first one is linked up here if you'd like to go and check that out. But today's video is going to be focusing all on outlining, something I am not familiar with in the slightest. I'm also going to be showing you how I set up my Scrivener, how I categorize, outline, and organize everything within that writing processor. If you are not already, then go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I will be posting 2 more videos in my NaNo Preptober series, as well as vlogging every day in the month of November and taking you along as I hopefully complete the challenge this year for the first time ever. Without further ado, I can't stall any longer. Let's talk about outlining. If you've seen my previous videos, then you know that I am not an outliner in the slightest. I do not plan any of my novels before I start writing. I just start typing and see where it takes me. This technique works about 90% of the time, but there's that 10% where I will write myself into a dead end and I find myself having to back out, and that takes up so much time that I don't have to waste this coming November. So in order to avoid that, I am going to be outlining for the very first time. I'm sure some of you are watching this and you are big outliners or big planners and you have all of your scenes in perfect order, ready to just be written. But I am not that way, so this is all brand new territory for me. I figured that I would start this whole outlining process by doing something I'm definitely not familiar with, which is the sticky note or index card method. This method is where you take all of your scenes and you just kind of write your ideas down and don't think about what order they need to go in. You just completely brain dump onto these sticky notes, and then from there you place them on the wall and you get to move things around to see what works best. The issue with this for me is that I'm a digital writer. I really don't write anything down on paper, and I do that mostly because I think it's just a lot of work having to transcribe everything that you write on paper back into the computer, and it just takes too long. However, we're trying new things this month and we're trying new techniques. We are going to test this method out, and you can watch me as I struggle through this process, guaranteed. The first problem that I am finding with this whole sticky note method is that I have to have a place to actually put said sticky notes on the wall. As you can see, we're big into art and having the walls completely filled up, so I think I have found this one space on the wall right next to the TV where I'm just going to commandeer the entire area and have it covered in sticky notes. That is, if this method actually works. Okay, I have my beautiful pastel sticky notes, and honestly, I'm just gonna go for it. I tried to do a little bit of work ahead of time to, I don't know, just map out some of my chapters. I don't really go by scenes necessarily. I kind of just make bullet points about the chapters of what needs to happen, and then as I'm writing, I see where the scenes naturally fall. So I'm not sure how great this method is going to work for me, but I'm kind of thinking I'll just put beginning, middle, end, and just start writing down my ideas. Okay, so my sticky notes as of right now just say beginning, middle, and end. And as I think of scenes, or as I write scenes down, I'm just going to put them underneath where I think that they'll fall, and I should be able to kind of create the story a little bit better as I figure it out. Oh, I hate this already! Are these supposed to be more organized? I'm kind of just like placing them. I just can't think this far in advance. And it's hard because as a writer who relies so much on finding out what's going to happen next based off of what I've just written, I don't know, this is just, it's like so far in advance. I maybe shouldn't have done this way because it's like, what is the middle and what is the end? Like, is there a word count that I'm trying? Like, once I hit X number of words, then it's officially the end? Are you guys just loving to see how my brain works? This is a hot mess. Okay, so another thing that I'm realizing with this sticky note method is that there's just too many things that happen. I mean, this is a full-length novel. My novels that I write tend to be on the longer side, so I mean 50,000 words, which is the goal for NaNoWriMo, will probably only end up being about half of my book. And I'm just thinking, you know, how specific do I need to get in the sticky notes? Because in my head, I want to get really specific, you know, like I want to have each individual thing that happens laid out in front of me, but then I'm going to use like 500 sticky notes. So is that what happens? Like, if anyone uses this method, please let me know how you go about doing it and what the logistics of how you do it are, because I don't know if I'm doing it wrong or if there's no right or wrong answer, but I'm kind of struggling right now. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. I'm feeling like I'll be here all day sticking sticky notes to the wall. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going because I'm kind of determined to see how far I can get with this method, but I'm not loving it as of right now. I guess it is kind of interesting to see that, oh, there goes another one. I guess it is kind of interesting to see that I do have quite a bit of my beginning planned out, and I'm really lacking towards the end. So I guess this does kind of provide a nice visual for me to be able to look at this and see, oh, the end of my story is not as fleshed out as I thought it was, so I'm really going to think about what I want to happen and get my ideas up in front of me, and then maybe the middle, which is severely lacking, will kind of come together a bit more. This just looks like an absolute jumbled mess. It looks like there is no coherent thought process. I don't know if it's just me who's having trouble visualizing what I need to be writing on these sticky notes, or if I'm just feeling a little overwhelmed, but I don't think this method is for me. I don't think I have the patience for it. It's kind of a lot of work to write everything out individually and then to rearrange, and I haven't even begun to rearrange, and this is probably only like a few chapters that I've actually gotten up here on the wall. I think I'm going to call this quits. I don't think that this method is going to work for me in the long term. Outlining, I will still obviously continue to try to do, but I think I'm gonna have to stick to doing it digitally instead of writing it down, because I'm kind of just getting a little overwhelmed, a little frustrated, and I'm starting to think that this is maybe just a waste of time for me. If you do this method though, please give me some tips, because I think I'd like to try it again at some point, but I don't know. I'm just not a fan as of right now. Alright, so the sticky note method may have been a bust for me. However, one thing that I know for sure is that I can definitely outline on Scrivener, and I'm going to now show you how I set up my entire project and how I will be attempting the sticky note method again, but digitally this time, and I'll show you exactly how that works. Let's go. All right, hello and welcome to my desk. I am going to be walking you through exactly how I've chosen to set up my Scrivener project before I actually start writing. And I've done a lot of pre-work on this just so that way I'm not fiddling with getting everything organized when it actually comes down to doing the writing in November. So I'm just gonna go ahead and show you how I've chosen to set it up. As you can see right here, this is the novel format. I've chosen to use one of the templates that Scrivener comes with, and it is their novel template. And this front page up here you can see in the binder is all of the information that you need to know on how to use the template and any kind of directions that you might need. This is not my first rodeo with Scrivener, and so I know pretty much all of this information, but it's nice that it's always here if you need to reference it. So here you can see on my binder, I've done some organization. My manuscript always stays at the very top, followed closely by my notes, and then I'll have my characters, places, research, and then from there the template sheets, the front matter, sample output, all of that stuff that doesn't quite matter as of right now. That'll matter in the end when I come close to actually finishing this novel and getting it ready to send off to editors and all of that. But right now, I don't need to bother with it, so I've shoved it down towards the bottom. In fact, theoretically, I could add a new folder, which I guess I'll do just to show you, and I could say miscellaneous, and from here I can drag this folder down to the very bottom. You can even go ahead and choose to change the little icon. They have a bunch of different little options for you to choose from. I guess I can go ahead and do this little thought bubble, because why not? So I'm now going to go ahead and move sample outlet underneath that, as well as front matter. And I'm actually going to go ahead and include my template sheets because I'm not going to bother with those at this particular moment, and I don't need to see them regularly. And now I'm able to close up miscellaneous, and it's really down to the things that I'm going to be clicking on frequently and using every single day. So let's start with the manuscript. You can see here that I have chosen to break up my manuscript into 3 main parts. Now these parts are separate from chapters. All of these parts will have chapters included in them. So let's start with Act 1. I can click down and you can see these are all of the chapters. I've gone ahead and named them after the characters that I'll be introducing in those chapters, but you can name your chapters whatever you like. If it's chapter 1, 2, 3, then that's perfect. If it's maybe just a keyword that lets you as the author remember what's going to happen in that chapter, great. This does not need to be final right now. It's really just naming things so that way you're able to find them best, whatever works for you. So I am going to go ahead and click on Act 1, and you can see this is the corkboard view. So right now, all of my chapters are just in here, but let's say that they're not in the order that I want. I can go ahead and click on a chapter and move it around wherever I like. This is really similar to the sticky note method, it's just all happening on the computer. Now in these chapter little things, you can see that it looks exactly like an index card, so I'm able to write in a quick synopsis either here directly on the card or in this little area, and I can say things like introduce grandma. And that's just a note for myself as the author to be able to say, okay, in this chapter I need to introduce grandma. And it's purely for myself, it's not going to show up on any of the final manuscripts. Let's go ahead and click further onto Kitty. So I can go down to, oh, also I should mention that you can scoot things around on your bookmark or in your binder if you'd like to. I just think for visual purposes, it's really easy to click and move things around here. So let's go ahead and click on one of our characters. Let's go ahead and click on Kitty. You can see here that there is an untitled document. That is where I will be doing the actual writing. So this is Kitty's story. You can see here that this is just one scene. So within the chapter, Kitty, I'm probably going to end up having multiple scenes. So I can add in a couple different text documents. The way that Scrivener wants you to use this template is you have the chapters, which is the folder, and then underneath that, all of the different text documents within that chapter are going to be the specific scenes. And again, you can go ahead and scoot these scenes around however you'd like. Once they're written, nothing is set in stone. You can move everything. So I've gone ahead and created Act 2 and Act 3. Obviously, I'm probably going to be adding in a lot more chapters as they come, but just to help further with the visuals, this is all going to be a chapter. This is just a part. This is a scene. Hopefully that makes sense. So, manuscript has been explained. Next, let's talk about notes. So within the notes, you can set this up to whatever works best for you as the writer. For me, I've found that I always end up with a lot of snippets of little scenes here and there, or just a couple one-offs. And so what I've gone ahead and done is added in a ton of different text documents for each individual snippet. And when you add in the text document, you can see here I've written just a little snippet of whatever. This may not even end up in the actual manuscript, but it previews the first line as part of the title. So I don't need to title these individual little things. I can just go ahead and let it title itself, and that way I know, like, decrepit, and I know exactly what snippet this is. Within notes, I have snippets, what I just explained, and then ideas. And here I just have one running document where I will add in an idea, and then I will click enter, enter, and then type another idea. You can bullet point this, whatever is best for you. Next, I have another little folder underneath my notes for any notes that I want to take about one of the companies that is getting started in my book. So any notes that I have, you can see here that I'm going to be filling out their mission, anything like that I can include. And then you'll see I also have a folder called iPhone Notes, and this is actually directly from my iPhone notes on my computer. So when I am out and about, I will get an idea for my book and I'll just open up the notes app on my phone, and I have a dedicated note in my phone for the story, and I can just jot down quickly my note, and then I'm able to copy and paste directly into the document. So that's how I manage my notes. As for characters, this Scrivener template comes with a character template worksheet that you can fill out. I'm not a huge fan of the worksheet. I think it's really surface level, but that being said, I've still filled it out really quickly for some of my characters, and that way I'm able to click on my character and see exactly what I need to see. Next, you can see I have places, and these are my different settings that I want to be able to do a profile on, because they're going to be frequent settings that I use in my novel. And so I have filled out little, or I'm going to be filling out even more, these little templates for them, and that way I can just quickly reference it. You're also able to, of course, include any photos that you want to be able to include and have that for reference. Under research, right now I don't know exactly what kind of research that I'm going to need to be doing, so I have just added in notes on theater, and then I added in a bunch of theater terms. I was a theater major, and then I worked for theater after college, so a lot of this is just really simple stuff that I already know, but it's nice to just have if I need to quickly reference anything. And that is pretty much how I go ahead and set up my Scrivener. Obviously things will change and develop as I get writing, but that is how I've chosen to go about doing it. If you also write with Scrivener, then please tell me how you do your setup, or if you have any tips for me that would maybe make my life easier. But I really love how I've set everything up, and it's worked for me in the past, so I'm excited to put it to use again in November. So yeah. Alright you guys, that is it for the second episode of my NaNoWriMo Preptober series. I think it's very safe to say that I am just not a plotter. I struggle with outlining so far in advance, and I rely heavily on just seeing where my story takes me as I write. So this should be an interesting month. I am still going to continue to attempt to outline in my Scrivener project and just see how far I can get in that process, but I'm hoping that I've done enough to at least get me started and hope for the best. My next NaNoWriMo Preptober series is going to be a lot easier for me because it is in fact something that I do before I start writing, which is prepping all of my characters and creating all of my characters as well as fleshing out some of my settings. So if you are interested in seeing that video, that will be coming out next Wednesday. In that video, I will also be giving away my character worksheets that I use. So I have created an entire character worksheet that is just a massive bunch of random questions that I use when I formulate my characters, and now I'm going to share it with you. So that video will be coming out next week. If you enjoyed watching me struggle through trying to outline, then go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, and please, please comment any suggestions you have for someone who is not a planner, how I can best make use of my time, and any tips or tricks you have for outlining when you are not used to doing so. I would love to hear anything that you guys have to say. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day. Now go write something. This is a hot mess.